All right, listen, have you ever felt like an alien? It sounds kind of weird. I'm not talking about like a green Martian monster floating around in outer space. I'm talking about, have you ever felt like you don't belong? Or like no one understands what you're really going through as a creative person? You know, today as we round out season 1 and prepare to go into the new year, I want to just let you know that I get you. I'm one of you, all right? I know what it's like to not feel like you fit in or belong all the time, especially as a creative person. And so today is a little bit different. I just want to share some simple truths, some affirmations, if you will, that I think every creative person needs to hear. All right, I think you're going to like this. Let's get into it.
Get up, get crazy, let loose, set yourself free.
All right, welcome back to the GodFrame Show, the podcast where we share life stories and lessons and encouragement to help you get unstuck and back to making art that moves the world. I'm your host, GodFrame, and if this is your first time tuning into this podcast, welcome. So glad you're here. If this is your millionth time tuning into this podcast, welcome to you as well. Thank you for being along on this entire journey of season 1, which really began as an experiment, you know, and kind of a challenge to myself, prompted by some creative friends of mine. Like, man, I've been wanting to do a podcast for a minute. And by a minute, I mean like 4 years. And finally, I went ahead and did that thing. So I appreciate, you know, your comments and, you know, your retweets and your reshares of the episode, like all that stuff. It matters. I promise it does. And it may seem so insignificant when you're doing it. Like, oh, I'm just, you know, I double tapped like on the episode or on the clip, or I made a comment on social, like whatever, no big deal. No, it's really a big deal. As a creative person, especially doing a lot of stuff as a solo creator, it feels really good when I get that feedback and that encouragement and those stories from you all hearing like, oh yeah, I needed that. Oh, thanks for putting that tip out there. I really was going through a tough time. That stuff really keeps me going. So, you know, I won't belabor this episode too long. I do want to get into this thing. So let's talk a little bit. You know, personally, I love coming of age stories. Like those are my favorite type of movie, I think. There's always just the relatable story of some young kid, some boy or girl who's just like, you know, just trying to, you know, get a date to the prom or just survive high school or whatever it may be. There's always this catastrophic thing and they got to fight through so many obstacles. But in the end, they usually come out on top and they get the girl or they get the guy or they end up with the prom date or they, you know, end up graduating and all is well. Like, and one thing I like about those stories in particular is that there's always the best friend, right? You always got the quirky best friend who's just like, you know, ride or die to the main character. You know, they support them no matter what. They're the ones who are like, you know, pumping them up when they're trying to get the courage to go ask the girl out. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, bro, you got this. You know, she likes you, man. Like, come on, she was winking at you in class. Or they're down to fight, you know what I'm saying, to throw some hands if things get a little sticky. You know, there's always that best friend who just seems to get the main character. They just get you. And so today, I want to be that best friend for you, if I haven't already, because I know firsthand that the life of a creative person can get pretty wild, that it's not the easiest thing to be a creator. Stereotypically, we're overly emotional. Anything can set us off, either on a super high or sometimes on a super low. We also tend to be our own worst critics, right? Like you could make some really dope art in other people's eyes, but every time you play it back or you look at it or you experience it or view it, it's like, oh, you're thinking about all the little things that you could have done better. Like, dang, I should have tweaked it this way. Oh, I should have just done like one more draft, even though we were on draft 15. Like I just should have kept working at this thing. It's not perfect yet. A lot of times we're scattered. We're very unfocused, right? It's hard to focus on ideas because we got a million of them going on, like those spaghetti noodles in our brain just swimming around. And it's hard to grasp on and just latch on and focus on a particular thing. And we speak a language that's foreign to a lot of people, you know, especially if you're like hyper creative and like you live in the clouds nonstop. A lot of times it's hard to convey your ideas to people. They don't get it. They're like, wait, what? Like, what do you mean you're trying to build another moon for us to fly to? Like, what are you talking about? It's crazy. And on that note, a lot of times we have big dreams that seem impossible. You have all these goals and these projects and these initiatives and things that you want to do so bad that it keeps you up at night and brings you to tears sometimes. But to other people, or even to yourself sometimes, those dreams may seem just too impossible to even go for. There's so many other characteristics that make up a creative person, but I just want to tell you, I see you and I get you. And as we get ready to go into the new year, whether you're listening to this in real time and you're literally about to go into 2023, or you're listening to this 50 years from now and you're like, man, what is 3029? What do you mean? This is classic. This is vintage. Like, I don't care when you're listening to it. As we get ready to go into this new season, this new year, I just wanted to give you some truths, some things that I think will help your soul a little bit and to just gear you up with a little bit of extra encouragement to go and create this thriving creative life that you've been wanting for so long. All right, so let's get into it without further ado. Truth number one. You are not alone. I know I say that pretty much every episode in the intro, but I want to really hone in on this point here that you're not alone. The life of a creative person can be very lonely, especially, a lot of people listening to this, you may not have a full team. You may not have interns. You may not have coworkers. You may just literally be making your thing by yourself. Depending on what your craft is, that's an easy thing to do. Like, put your headphones on, grab your tools, and just do your thing. But it's tempting to be reclusive and to not dive into community. And sometimes when you're going through tough seasons, or even when you have something grand to celebrate, it can be really lonely when you look around and realize that there's not a lot of people around you like you. A couple summers ago when we were knee deep, like right when the pandemic started, it was like the first summer of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I just remember feeling so like everyone, right? Like so down, so afraid, so uncertain of like, man, what is next? Like, when are we going to get out of this? I thought it was going to be 2 weeks long and now it's turned into 3 months, 4 months, and it's summertime. Like, what the heck? Like, I want to go outside. I want to experience fresh air. I want to, encounter people and hug people and like, just embrace humanity without feeling afraid that it's going to take my life. Like, there was all this anxiety that I had, and a friend of mine named Risha, I talk about her quite a bit on this podcast, and she's more than likely going to be in season 2 and season 3, season 4. Like, who knows? I got to get her on here. Shout out to Risha. But she had the idea to create this virtual network called The Link Up. And, we would meet. I think we did it just for that summer. It was so cool to just be in a virtual space. We weren't together, but just be in a virtual room with people who were, one, struggling through this pandemic like everyone else on earth, but two, like folks who just had that creative spark. There were filmmakers, aspiring entrepreneurs, musicians, rappers, singers, photographers, graphic designers. I think maybe we had some culinary folks on there. Like, there were all sorts of creative people on this call every week. And it was just the camaraderie of seeing other faces and hearing people's thoughts as they either struggle through things that we're all struggling through or share some tips like, yo, y'all dealing with this? Let me tell you how I dealt with it and how I triumphed over it. And it was just really cool. And I'm so glad that I was able to be a part of that magical moment. It may feel like you're an alien sometimes and that you're completely by yourself and that no one knows your ups and your downs. But, there's a whole world of folks who have the same ups and downs you do, who struggle with imposter syndrome sometimes like you do, who get frustrated at crazy deadlines and ridiculous clients like you do. You are not alone, my friend. All right, so know that going into this next season. You may have to go find your people, but keep making your thing and putting yourself out there, and you'll find each other. A second truth that I think you need to know in your soul is that you are not behind. You're not late and you're not behind. All right. Like this world of social media, and honestly, it's not just social media. I hear a lot of people say that, but Gary Vee, I think, made a good point not long ago where he was like, it's not really social media that's a problem. It's people. Right? Like FOMO is a very real thing. And before it was social media, it was just regular internet and email. And before it was that, it was, newspapers and magazines and, they're like any medium where a lot of people can rally around and show their news or their highlights. There's going to be a tendency for you viewing that stuff and feeling like you're behind in your own journey because someone else is winning or they seem to be winning in this area. Or you can feel like other people's success matters more than yours, or that there's no more opportunities for you. This is one that I deal with a lot. Like, man, I feel like, even though there's 7 billion people on the planet who may need my creative skill sets, my services and products, sometimes I feel like, man, there's just not any work out here. Like, like I'm going to be broke. I'm going to not make it. My businesses are going to tank and I'm going to be looking stupid in front of everybody. And everybody's going to know that I'm a failure and I don't know how to be a creative artist and make money. Like that's something I deal with on a regular basis. But the truth is everybody has their own journey. Everybody has their own steps and their own path that they have to take. And some people that you're looking at on the internet are veterans at this. Like if you look back at their actual career, some of them have had decades worth of failures. And then suddenly they found a spark after working and working and working and working and hearing no after no after no and being rejected over and over again and having people tell them that they were trash and their art sucked and the things they created no one would ever want. A lot of these people that we see winning now came from a whole journey of losses along the way. So don't get jealous of someone else's success. Run your race, not theirs. You got a whole journey ahead of you. Who knows how long you're going to be in this thing? If this is a lifelong thing for you, you got prayerfully many, many, many more decades and many, many more years to come. So put your blinders on and go make your art. All right. We need you. All right. You are not behind. You're right on time. All right. I got one more truth for you. But before I get to that, I got to take a commercial break and hear from our sponsors. And we'll be right back.
This podcast is brought to you by Lamar Haley Entertainment, helping global brands and creators leverage music, film and TV, and digital content to engage audiences on a human level. Discover more at lamarhaley.com.
Being a creator isn't easy. Whether you're juggling last-minute deadlines, working with difficult clients or team members, or you're just not feeling confident in the things you create, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, frustrated, and like no one understands what you're going through. Well, here at Team GodFrame, we got you. That's why we created the GodFrame mailing list, a weekly-ish newsletter full of stories, tips, and inspiration to help you thrive on your creative journey so you can get back to making art that moves the world. Get that creative boost you've been waiting for from GodFrame straight to your inbox. Sign up now at godframe.com/mailing-list.
Got a question you want to get answered on the show? Or you just want to give a shout out? Now you can. With the Anchor platform, you can record a personalized voice message for a chance to be featured on an upcoming episode of The GodFrame Show. Leave a message now at godframe.com/podcast.
All right, welcome back. Today is a little bit more of a different episode as we end the season, where I'm just sharing some simple truths, some love, if you will, giving you a little love for your soul, for your creative soul, some things that I need to hear often and things that I think you need to hear often as a creative person. And the third one that I want to share, and it's probably the most dear to my heart, is that your work matters. And so do you. Your work matters. The things you make with your hands or with your mind or with your words, with your mouth, the stuff you do and create, it matters so much more than you think it does. And you matter so much more than you might think you do. Think about, creativity. is so potent. Think about what our world would be without creativity, creative artists, creative endeavors, creative strategy. Like, creativity solves business problems in order to do marketing, to do sales, to come up with creative content, to get more customers for businesses. I can't even go down the whole list. There's so many ways that creativity solves problems in business. Creativity helps people connect to one another. You look at technology like social media, or the fact that we can pick up a little device in our hands and send an instant message to somebody on social, or send them a text. Like, they can actually read our words, or better yet, an audio note, and they can hear what we're saying. Like, technology and creativity is so powerful in helping people to create and continue having strong relationships. But even simpler than that, like, you look at things like greeting cards, right? Like, greeting cards help people to feel a connection and to share a message that they may not have been able to express on their own. But through the words and the art and the images and, this tangible piece of paper or cardboard, they're able to share that with someone else that they care for and convey a message that hits them deeply in the heart. You look at movies, you look at music, like, there's all these things that help humanity connect with one another. Creativity, your art, your work, it matters so much. It helps people spread knowledge. Creativity helps people learn. When you look at online courses, or even, in-person courses and education, books, podcasts, videos, like, there's all these mediums that help people understand how the world works and learn new concepts and get educated and increase their mindset and how they think and how they feel. Like, the list goes on and on, but the bottom line is, making beautiful things makes this world a better place. And it shows people that hope is possible and that all is not lost. And above all of that, like, all the things you make, yeah, those are great. Those are dope. Those are potent. Those are needed on this earth. But more than that, you, my friend, you are needed on this earth. Creative or not, creative person or not, like, bump all that. You as a human, you have so much value. Matter of fact, you have so much more value than the things that you create. I remember, early in my career, especially like right out of college, I wrapped a lot of my identity in the things that I was making. The music I was making, the videos I was making, the graphics that I was doing. Like, I wrapped so much of my identity in it, to the point where if something didn't go well, I had shame. Like, man, the client or my boss or whoever didn't like the creative asset I made, or there was a mistake with it, or it didn't work well, or it didn't translate well. I'm like, man, there must be something wrong with me. Or I thought, if I'm not making something fantastic with my hands or with my mind, then, what value do I have? Who am I if I'm not a creator? Well, the truth is, you're you. Strip away all your gifts. Strip away all your talents, which are wonderful things. Strip away all the things you make with your hands, and you're you. You beautiful, wonderful, fearfully made in God's image human being, with your intelligence, with your ideas, with your personality, your quirks, the way you look, the way your smile is shaped, the way your eyes blink, the color of your skin, like every little ounce of who you are as a person matters. You have value, you have dignity, you have purpose, because you were created by a very powerful and intentional God for good works on this earth. And your works are probably really good, but please don't miss the fact that you are also a good work. Boy, you better, that just coming straight off the dome. You feel me? This ain't in my nose. You, beyond the good works that you do, you are a good work because of He who created you, right? And I pray that as you enter into this new year, I hope you take time to reflect over this break, over this season. Reflect on the fact that you're not alone, that there are plenty more people just like you, with your quirks, with your ups, with your downs, with your struggles, with your triumphs. There's so many other folks just like you. Reflect on the fact that you're not behind, that, Your journey is your journey, and you don't have to compare yourself to someone else's success. Your journey is just where it needs to be right now in this season. And I hope that you reflect on the fact that your work matters because it solves problems in the earth and makes this world a beautiful place, and that you matter way more than the work that you create. All right. Enjoy this break. Enjoy this season. We're going to be back for season 2, probably in a couple months. I don't know. We haven't mapped it fully out yet, but I have enjoyed so much spending time with you this season. It has been a joy to see how these messages and these truths and these tips have been impacting you. And I hope that this one was the same. I hope you got something out of this. I can't wait next year to see you in season 2. I can't wait to see what you make. I can't wait to see what we make together. I can't wait to see all the adventures that you're going to have, all the success you're going to have, all the lessons that you're going to learn. It's going to be a good year, my friend. I will see you on the other side. Thank you so much for watching and listening. You don't know how much that means to me. You have been listening for the final episode of this season to the GodFrame Show. I've been your host, GodFrame. Pray you have a phenomenal rest of your year. I'll see you in 2023. And as always, I'll talk to you soon. Peace.